If you think modern prepping is cutting edge, wait till you see what the old warriors were pulling off centuries ago. The samurai weren't just fighters, they were human survival engines. Their world demanded absolute readiness, no excuses, no shortcuts, no second chances. And the skills they mastered? Some of them still outperform today's gear-obsessed survival trends. What you're about to hear isn't nostalgia. It's a slap-in-the-face reminder that real survival comes from the body, the mind, and the will to adapt when everything else falls apart. Let's dive straight into the 7 samurai survival hacks that modern preppers can't stop talking about, because they still work, and they work frighteningly well. Mind control under pressure. Samurai training revolved around strengthening the mind until, honestly, panic just stopped being an option. In a world without apps, alarms, or safety nets, they learned to slow their breathing, lower their heart rate, and, well, switch from chaos to clarity instantly. This wasn't meditation for serenity. This was a battlefield survival switch. And here's the wild part. Modern special forces still use versions of this control trick because it keeps the brain from slipping into fight-or-flight overload. For preppers, this isn't theory. In any real disaster, earthquake, blackout, or breakdown, your brain is the first tool to betray you. The samurai way trains it to become your strongest weapon instead. Silent movement that outsmarts modern security. Forget motion sensors. Before cameras and alarms, samurai moved so quietly that their steps blended with ambient sound. They practiced soft footing to avoid snapping twigs, shifting gravel, or creaking floorboards. They even learned to sync their movements with natural noise, like the wind, insects, or distant water. So, no one really noticed their presence. Security experts still teach forms of this technique today for situations where, honestly, stealth is survival. And the benefit? Well, you become hyper-aware of your environment. You learn to read terrain like a map. You stop walking blindly into danger and instead, you start gliding right around it. Layered clothing that doubles as armor and weather protection. The samurai lived in a climate with hot summers, freezing winters, and honestly, what felt like endless rain. Their clothing strategy was pure genius. Instead of relying on one heavy garment, they used lightweight overlapping layers that trapped heat in the cold and let air circulate when it was hot. It was modular survival gear long before modern outdoor brands existed. Even during World War II, soldiers rediscovered layering because it's still one of the most efficient ways to regulate body temperature without relying on bulky equipment. Today's preppers can take the same approach. Layers give adaptability, movement, and resilience in unpredictable weather, just like they did for the warriors who traveled on foot for days. Natural camouflage that works better than store-bought gear. Now that's something the samurai really understood. They didn't rely on, expensive patterns or high-tech fabrics. Instead, they used dull tones, natural fabrics, and earth pigments to just vanish into forests, mountains, and rural environments. It wasn't about looking cool, not at all. It was about not being seen. Even smoke smudging and dust rubbing had a purpose. Break up the human outline, plain and simple. Modern preppers often forget this simple truth. You don't need the fanciest camouflage, really. You just need to blend with whatever landscape you're actually in. The samurai, well, they mastered that instinctively, and their methods still work, even for hunters, trackers, and rescue teams today. Firecraft that doesn't need modern tools. In an age when fire meant life, heat, light, and safety, the samurai perfected fast ignite techniques that worked in damp conditions. They used natural tinder, oil-treated fibers, dried plant shreds, and friction methods that could spark a flame when most people would still be fumbling with matches. And here's the twist. Many of these methods proved their value again during World War II, when soldiers behind enemy lines had to survive in the wild without carrying bulky supplies. Ancient firecraft didn't rely on gadgets. It relied on skill, and that skill still beats half the survival kits sold today. Situational awareness that predicts danger before it happens. The samurai had a rule. Always know what's behind you, what's beside you, and what's ahead, even when you're not looking. They trained peripheral awareness constantly. They watched shadows, wind movement, animal behavior, the stillness of trees, and even the shift in silence that hinted at danger. It sounds like myth until you realize modern crisis responders use the same philosophy. Preppers who adopt this skill say it transforms everything. You stop being surprised. You start noticing things early enough to avoid the threat entirely. That's the power of awareness, sharpened through centuries of discipline. Improvised tools using nature's raw materials. Samurai weren't spoiled by convenience. They shaped rope from plants, used wood as structural support, crafted makeshift barriers, created simple traps, and repurposed natural materials for shelter and protection. The point wasn't to become a carpenter. The point was adaptability, the real core of survival. When gear fails or you lose your pack, your brain should fill the gap. That's the samurai lesson. Don't depend on tools. Become the tool. Start seeing everything around you as a resource. That mindset has carried survivalists through natural disasters, wars, and wilderness emergencies for centuries. The deeper you dig into samurai survival, the more you realize something important. They weren't obsessed with things. They were obsessed with capability. And capability doesn't break, run out of battery, or get lost in the woods. It travels with you. It's part of you. That's why their skills still impress modern preppers. They're clean, efficient, and, honestly, just brutally effective. If you're building your own preparedness, these ancient hacks can upgrade you fast. They're not relics. They're battle-tested wisdom that survived centuries of storms, invasions, disasters, and, well, the chaos of human history. And if they worked for warriors who lived with danger every single day, just imagine what they could do for you. If you're loving these forgotten survival secrets and want more deep dive history that still matters today, make sure you subscribe to History's Survival Code, drop a like, and share this video with someone who needs a little ancient wisdom in their everyday readiness.